Shalom. This is Deacon DeForest Smith with the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel and in King James Bible University. And today's title is, what doctrine are we observing to learn? As a nation of people, we've been deceived to learn the way of madness and vanity, either willingly or force-fed as children of bondage. Now is the time for us to realize the things we learn from men don't profit us nothing towards eternal salvation, or the wisdom needed to produce the spiritual deeds of uprightness toward our Creator. Once we learn the truth of righteousness, we must refrain from eating those defiled things again that we once delighted to indulge in. But some will not depart once being warned and will justify their actions of staying connected to a lie. And we're going to go to Ezra chapter 10, verse 10 through 12. Verse 10. And Ezra the priest stood up and said to them, Ye have transgressed and have taken strange wives to increase the trespass of Israel. Now, therefore, for that reason, make confession unto the Spirit of God thy guide of your fathers, and do his pleasure, and separate yourselves from the people of the land and from the strange wives. Then all the congregation answered and said with a loud voice, As thou hast said, so must we do. Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 through 8. And we all have made that covenant and said we will do it. But some is capped and some is gonna be agree to the covenant, but God, Yahweh, knows our hearts, and we must always take heed to what we learn because it guides us. And if we take heed to the wrong doctrine and eat upon those things, then it's going to lead us out the path and we'll break our covenant and it'll be capped. Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 through 8. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation, a separate nation, not doing the things of the world, but doing the things, the covenant, the words of our God, Jehovah. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which the Spirit of God commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that the Spirit of God has spoken, we will do. So I'm just showing you again, before Ezra did it, Moses did it. But Ezra was keeping the covenant and keeping the remembrance going for us so we could stay in the covenant and we could repent and come back into the fold. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Spirit of God. And that's a witness among ourselves that we got to keep that covenant. because our forefathers said it, and we also made the same covenant, because we call ourselves Israel. First Ezra chapter 9, verse 7 through 10. And I'm showing you this because there are some false prophets out there that'll tell you that the Apocrypha is not of the Bible, but it's just in the Bible. But we see that's cap. It's all lies and deceit from their own vain thoughts and imaginations. And we must not indulge in those doctrines of devils. So Ezra arose up and said unto them, Ye have transgressed the law in marrying strange wives, thereby to increase the sins of Israel. And now by confessing, give glory unto the Creator thy God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and do his will, and separate yourselves, be holy, from the heathen of the land, and from the strange woman. Then cried the whole multitude, and said with a loud voice, Like as thou hast spoken, so will we do. So we see this is word from word. Ezra is the same person as Esdras, and it's the same thing written in. So let's go to First Ezra chapter 9, verse 7 through 10. And I went to this to show that because some false prophets out there will tell you that the Apocrypha is not of the Bible, but it's just in the Bible. And what sense does that make when it's recorded in the same way as in Ezra chapter 10, verse 10 through 12? So verse 9 in First Ezra chapter 9, verse 7, I mean. So Ezra arose up and said unto them, Ye have transgressed the law in marrying strange wives, thereby to increase the sins of Israel. And now by confessing, give glory unto the Creator thy God of our fathers, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and do his will, and separate yourselves. Be holy from the heathen of the land, and from the strange woman. Then cried the whole multitude, and said with a loud voice, Like as thou hast spoken, so will we do. So we must keep that covenant, the same as our forefathers did, and not transgress the covenant. Exodus chapter 13, verse 3 and 9 through 10. Verse 3. And Moses said unto the people, repent this day, remember this day, in which ye came out from Egypt, from the house of bondage, from confusion, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand, the Spirit of God brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten, and it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial, verse 9, and it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Spirit of God's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Spirit of God brought thee out of Egypt, out of bondage. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. So once we come out of that bondage, in the false doctrines, we must not go back. We must stay eating our omer that is given to us by Jehovah. He gonna drop knowledge on us every day. And we gonna have to get that instead of going back to that defiled bread that we ate in Egypt in the house of bondage, where we once partook in those church buildings are doctrines of men. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12 through 13 and 15, 17, and 20 through 22. Verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Spirit of God thy guide require of thee, but to fear the Spirit of God thy guide, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, to promise him, and to serve the Spirit of God thy guide with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Spirit of God, to keep the commandments of the Spirit of God and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. Verse 15. Only the Spirit of God had a delight in thy fathers to promise them, to give them that covenant. And he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day. So we must keep that covenant. Verse 17, for the Spirit of God, your guide, is the guide of gods, of idols, and creator of lords, of masters, a great guide, a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not persons. So he don't worship people, nor take of rewards. Verse 20, thou shalt fear the Spirit of God thy guide, him shalt thou serve, because he ain't gonna serve us like some people think. And they think they could just take them into that building. He regardeth no persons, nor take of rewards, so he ain't gonna go in that building with you. And to him shalt thou cleave, not to the building, not to that pastor that's in the building, not to no man's words, and swear by his name, his way, because his way is Jehovah, is righteous, is holy, is separate. Verse 21, he is thy praise. So we must confess him and nothing else. And he is thy guide. So we going to confess that he is the guide of Israel. And he'll lead us out of the bondage, out of those houses of confusion. And keep us on our path, our straight and narrow path. That have done for thee these great and terrible things, which thine eyes, thine understanding have seen. Verse 22, thy fathers went down into Egypt with 70 persons, and now the Spirit of God thy guide hath made thee as the stars of heaven for multitude. And we don't know how many of us is out here now. We scattered throughout the whole world, and they can't number us. And once we come back together and learn this covenant, we can be accepted and we could come back on top and not be the bottom of the totem pole. and separate ourselves from the heathen, those that are around about us, and stop trying to be in the limelight with them, worshiping their days, their holidays, and their idols, but learn our own heritage and come back into our own way of life. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 through 2. Because there's a lot of us out here that's lost, and we need that light to guide them to the truth. Just past Wednesday, I kept running across people, and I kept telling them, why do they have dirt on their foreheads? And me not knowing that it was Ash Wednesday in their eyes, in their sight, in their understanding. But to me, it was just dirt in a regular day. But some observe to eat those doctrines of men, and they try to justify those things in scripture. But those that have the eyes and the ears to see and hear know that it's vanity and it's nothing but an imagination of the hearts, of the wicked hearts of men, to keep you in bondage, keep you in Egypt, keep you in confusion. So what doctrine are we observing to eat? 1 Corinthians chapter 12, 1 through 2. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I will not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 47 through 51 and 53. And we was carried away. Yet, if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent, remember, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captives, saying, we have sinned and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness, and so return unto thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name, for thy way. 49. Then hear thou their prayer, their confession, and their supplication in heaven, thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause. And forgive thy people that have sinned against thee, and all their transgressions, wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before them who carried them, captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they be thy people, and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest forth out of Egypt, out of bondage, from the midst of the furnace of iron. For thou didst separate them from among all the people of the earth to be thine inheritance, as thou spakest by the hand of Moses thy servant, when thou broughtest our fathers out of Egypt, O Creator thy God. Verse 53, I'm sorry. Psalm 78, verse 1 and 2, and verse 5 and 7 through 8. Psalm 78, verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. Verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children. Verse 7. That they might set their hope in Yahweh and not forget the works of Yahweh, but keep his commandments. Verse 8. And might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with Yahweh. So we must be that generation to come out, and not the generation that died in the wilderness. And we know that this book is spiritual, but our forefathers, our grandparents, and our parents before us, they learned it carnally, and we must vomit up that carnal mindset that was taught to us, and refill our minds and our hearts with the doctrine of righteousness, the spiritual doctrine, that manna. Romans chapter 7, verse 14 through 22. 14 and 22, I'm sorry. Verse 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. Verse 22. For I delight in the law of Yahweh after the inward man. Psalms 119, verse 4 through 5, 15, 29, 37 through 38, 104, 111 through 112, and 128. So if we stay in that carnal mind, we'll never get the understanding of wisdom. And we'll never understand that precepts is the way to getting that understanding and to keep us from that carnal false way. Because if you look at this book at a carnal mindset, you'll find contradictions. But there is no contradiction in this book. The contradiction is your carnal mind. And you must lose that carnal mind and become spiritual. Verse 4, Psalms 119. Thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently. So if you keep precepts diligently, you'll lose that carnal mind and you'll start understanding the spiritual parables and similitudes that are in this book. Verse 5, oh, that my ways were directed to keep thy statutes. And the more you feed yourself of the good doctrine, that lively bread, you'll be directed by the spirit of wisdom. Verse 15, I will meditate in thy precepts and have respect, will worship unto thy ways. Verse 29, remove from me the way of lying and grant me thy law graciously. Verse 37, turn away mine eyes from beholding, from remembering vanity, and quicken thou me in thy way. 38, establish thy word unto thy servant who is devoted to thy fear, to thy desire. 104, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. 111, thy testimonies have I taken as an heritage forever, for they are the rejoicing of my heart. Verse 112, I have inclined my heart to perform thy statutes always, even unto the end. So you're going to be that faithful servant that endures to the end. Verse 128, therefore, for that reason, I esteem all thy precepts concerning all things to be right, and I hate every false way. And those false ways are the ways of men that have made themselves idols upon earth. And we must not respect those persons. We must cast them off and come out of those wicked places that teach vanity and lies and doctrines of men, doctrines of devils. Psalms 116, verse 11 through 12 and 15 through 17. Verse 11, I said in my haste, all men are liars. What shall I render unto the Spirit of God for all his benefits toward me? You render your hearts and your garment and not your flesh, because he don't want your flesh. Verse 15, precious in the sight of the Spirit of God is the death of his saints. And that's that flesh. O Spirit of God, truly I am thy servant. I am thy servant and the servant of thine handmaid. Thou hast loosed my bonds. I will offer to thee the sacrifice of thanksgiving and will call upon the way of the Spirit of God. Numbers 23, verse 19. Does everybody call upon that man, Jesus? But we know the Spirit of God is in Jesus. It's Jehovah or Christ, the anointed one, which is salvation. He is Jesus. But Jesus, the man, isn't salvation because no man can save us. Christ was in that man to teach us of salvation. Numbers 23, verse 19. God is not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. Remember, hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good? 1 Kings chapter 8, 56 through 61. Verse 56. Knowledge and understanding is given, be the Spirit of God, that have given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he promised, that he loved. There hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant. The Spirit of God our guide be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us, nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes, and his judgments, teachings, and doctrines, which he commanded our fathers. And let these my words wherewith I have made supplication before the Spirit of God be nigh unto the Spirit of God our guide, day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel at all times, as the matter shall require. Verse 60, that all people of the earth may know that the Spirit of God is God, is Yahweh, and that there is none else. Let not your heart therefore be perfect. Let your heart therefore be perfect with the Spirit of God our God, to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments as at this day. So ain't nothing new under the sun, and we can't change nothing. We can't add or subtract anything. It's written from the beginning what we need to do, what's required of us, and we must stick to the script. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1 through 3. And there will be camps and Christians and people that don't understand the truth will be keeping Passover and Easter very soon, sacrificing things that we're not supposed to. But we're supposed to be sacrificing our bodies, separating it from the world unto Yahweh by the words which is given through Christ. And we must not indulge in those things, but we know that the law is spiritual, that the Passover is in the Feast of Unleavened Bread is spiritual. It's not a carnal feast. It's the day of learning and repenting so we can come out of bondage. For the law, verse 1 through 3, Hebrews chapter 10. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect. For then would they not have ceased to be offered. Because if you was perfect, you would just stay in the word. And you wouldn't have to sacrifice for sins year by year. Because that the worshipers once purged should have had no more conscience of sin. But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sins every year. Hebrews 10, verse 26. But we know those that have the eyes and to see and the ears to hear, we know that we only get one shot at it. And once you come to the knowledge of sin, we must cast those deeds off and renew our minds in the spirit and not go back into the sin business. So we wouldn't have to sacrifice sheep and lambs every year by year. but make that one special sacrifice of yourself once to Jehovah. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. Colossians chapter 2, verse 20 through 22. Colossians chapter 2, verse 20. Wherefore, if ye be dead with Jehovah Christ from the rudiments of the world, be separate. Why, as though living in the world, are ye subject to ordinances, those carnal feasts? Touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men. All right. Matthew, yeah. Matthew chapter 16, verse 6 through 8 and 11 through 12. Verse 6. Then Yahushua said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Which when Yahushua perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves? Because ye have brought no bread. Verse 11. How is it that you do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread? He wasn't speaking carnally. He was speaking in a dark speech. That ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. Verse 12. Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine, the knowledge of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. So we see we must come out of that carnal mind to get the understanding of what's written spiritually. And we must not partake in indulging in those doctrines of men. Luke chapter 4, verse 2 through 4. Verse 2. Being 40 days tempted of the devil, and in those days he did eat nothing. And when they were ended, he afterward hungered. And the devil said unto him, If thou be the son, the servant of Yahweh, command this stone that it be made bread. Verse 4. And Yahweh answered him, saying, It is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of Yahweh. So we're gonna be tempted by those snakes, those false prophets that try to come to you and deceive you and try to give you something that they, in their eyes, they think is better than Yahweh's word, because they despise his word and they hate it. It's abomination to them, just like they are abomination to our God. So we must not take heed or eat among those abominations. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, 1 through 10. Chapter 2. Chapter 2, verse 1 through 10. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Creator, salvation the Anointed One, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of Jehovah is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalteth himself above all that is called Yahweh, or that is worship. And that's what the devil was tempting, trying to get Yahweh to do, to exalt himself, to exalt Satan within himself, so that he can be as an idol. So that he as God sitteth in the temple of Yahweh, showing himself that he is Yahweh. So he gonna be that God. He gonna be the authority of your body when you partake in the bread, the doctrine of devils. Verse 5, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of the acts of sin, iniquity doth already work. Because that's what you delight in if you partake in those things, even after somebody has warned you and told you the truth. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Creator shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. So it's going to be a battle. But Jehovah shall prevail. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish. So you see, they're going to perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, which is going to prevail, and this is everlasting, that they might be saved. Hosea chapter 4, verse 1 through 3 and 6 through 7. And since some of us at first, or all of us at first, did not receive the love of the truth, but some even after receiving it, they're going to deny it. So Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Spirit of God, ye children of Israel. For the Spirit of God hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood, life toucheth life. A cousin gonna kill a cousin. Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. So we see we didn't keep the covenant. We didn't keep that commandment of where we were supposed to teach our children this for generation to generation. So that's why we became destroyed. That's why there's no knowledge in the land, no truth in the land. And that's why we kill each other. We gangbanging in the streets. Verse 7. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. We got church buildings everywhere. They forgot the law of Yahweh. They say it's no more. Therefore will I change their glory into shame. That's why we black and don't have a name, a way. Well, ain't no black way. It's darkness. The way of black is darkness and void and corruption and desolation. But we can't see it. We can't understand it. And we love to stay in our miseries and our sorrows instead of confessing them, our sins to Yahweh and coming out. Ezekiel chapter 24, verse 21 through 23 through 27. Verse 21, Ezekiel 24. Speak unto the house of Israel. Thus says the Creator thy God, behold, remember, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your understanding, the fear of your eyes, and that which your soul pitieth, and your sons and your daughters whom you have left shall fall by the sword. Verse 23, and your tires shall be upon your heads, and your shoes upon your feet. Ye shall not mourn nor weep, but ye shall pine away for your iniquities, and mourn one toward another. Thus Ezekiel is unto you a sign. According to all that he have done shall ye do. And with it, and when this cometh, ye shall know that I am the Creator thy God. As thou son of man, also thou son of man, shall it not be in the day when I take from them their strength, the joy of their glory, the desire, the fear of their eyes, the fear of their understanding, and that whereupon they set their minds, their sons and their daughters. Verse 26, that he that escapeth in that day shall come unto thee, to cause thee to hear it with thine ears. In that day shall thy mouth be open to him which is escaped, and thou shalt speak and be no more dumb. and thou shalt be a sign unto them, and they shall know that I am the Spirit of God. So we must just keep putting in that work. And those that have eyes and ears to hear and a heart to escape, they will come and learn of the truth. And we shall rebuild. But some is going to deny it. Some is going to stay in that filth and in those dunghills. Psalms 74, chapter 74, verse 7 through 10. Psalm 74, verse 7. They have cast fire into thy sanctuary. They have defiled by casting down the dwelling place of thy name, of thy way to the ground. They said in their hearts, let us destroy them together. They have burned up all the synagogues of Yahweh in the land. We see not our signs. There is no more any prophet. Neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. O Yahweh, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. And in that day, 7 women, 7 spirits shall take hold of one man or woman, female or male, saying, we will eat our own bread. So they don't want the knowledge of truth. And wear our own apparel. They don't want the covering of holiness. Only let us be called by thy name, by thy way, to take away our reproach. So they're going to be a Jew outwardly and not one inwardly. They're going to be carnal minded, doing everything like the camps do to try to fake the funk so they can try to get a little ease in this bondage. But they going to get their recompense because those 7 spirits is going to take over. And they ain't going to have no control. They're not going to be guided by the light. They're going to be black forever in that darkness. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1 through 3. And believe those 7 spirits have their own doctrine that we must not take heed to or nor observe. Because once we get caught up, there's no more sacrifice for sins. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 1 through 3. Woe to the rebellious children, says the Spirit of God, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, you're going to go visit those 7 spirits, and they're going to take hold of you. And have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, to take away that reproach, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And I'm going to go from here. I'm going to go to Exodus 17, verse 1. Now I'm going to start at verse 2 and go down to verse 3. Exodus 17, verse 2. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt the Spirit of God? And the people thirst there for water, for the knowledge. And the people murmured against Moses and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And let's go down to 4. And Moses cried unto the Spirit of God, saying, What shall I do unto this people that be almost ready to stone me? So we see some gonna come out, but they gonna want to go right back in. And those are the same ones, those rebellious children in Isaiah 30, verse 2. They want to walk back into Egypt because they can't endure the wilderness and learning the new knowledge that is of righteousness. They'd rather go back to what they used to be. But we must not go back and be like the sons of perdition and go back into Egypt. Daniel chapter 9, verse 5 through 11. And they put their strength in Pharaoh. Daniel 9, verse 5. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments, teachings, and doctrines. Neither have we hearkened unto thy servants, the prophets, which spake in thy name thy way to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. Verse 7, O Creator, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day, to the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass, that they have trespassed against thee. O Creator, to us belongeth confusion of face, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To the Creator our God belongeth mercies and forgiveness, forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the of the Spirit of God our God, to walk in his way, in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, going back down into Egypt, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him. Jeremiah chapter 21, verse 14. Jeremiah 21, verse 14. But I will punish you according to the fruit of your doings, says the Spirit of God, and I will kindle a fire, a desire in the forest thereof, and it shall devour all things round about it. Exodus chapter 20, verse 19 through 21. And those that fire are desires. Verse 19. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not Yahweh speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, Fear not, desire not, don't desire that fire. For God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where Yahweh was. Jeremiah chapter 44, 26 through 29. Verse 26. Therefore, for that reason, hear ye the word of the Spirit of God, all Judah that dwell in the land of Egypt. Behold, remember, I have sworn by my great name, my great way, says the Spirit of God, that my way, my name, shall no more be named in the mouth of any man of Judah in all the land of Egypt, saying, the Creator thy God liveth. Verse 27, Behold, remember, I will watch over them for evil and not for good. And all the men of Judah that are in the land of Egypt shall be consumed by the sword and by the famine until there be an end of them. Yet a small number that escape the sword shall return out of the land of Egypt into the land of Judah, and all the remnant of Judah that are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there shall know, whose words shall stand, mine or theirs. And this shall be a sign unto you, says the Spirit of God, that I will punish you in this place, that ye may know that my words shall surely stand against you for evil. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 7, verse 1 through 3, 8 through 10, 12 through 13, and verse 16. Do no evil, so shall no harm come unto thee. Depart from the unjust, and iniquity, the acts of sin shall turn away from thee. My son, my servant, sow not upon the furrows of unrighteousness, and thou shalt not reap them sevenfold. Verse 8, bind not one sin upon another, for in one thou shalt not be unpunished. Say not, Yahweh will look upon the multitude of my oblations, and when I offer to the Most High Yahweh, he will accept it. Be not faint-hearted when thou makest thy prayer, thy confession, and neglect not to give alms, good deeds. Give this word out. Devise not a lie against thy brother, neither do the like to thy friend. Use not to make any matter of lie, for the custom thereof is not good. Verse 16, number not thyself among the multitude of sinners, but remember that wrath will not tarry long. Deuteronomy chapter 28, 63 through 67. And this is the last verse for tonight on this. I'm going to make a, part 1 and part 2 of this teaching. So this is going to be the end of part 1. And it shall come to pass that as the Spirit of God rejoice over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Spirit of God will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. But we must always remember not to be fearful, because it's for our own good and not for our destruction. Verse 64, and the Spirit of God shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other, and thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. But we also must remember, he said, if we rethink ourselves in the land of our captivities and come back unto him, he will come back unto us. Verse 65, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy feet have rest. But the Spirit of God shall give thee a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. And he's doing this to prove us, to see if we will come back to him for all things. For he can be our rest, and we can rest in the Spirit, because there's no rest in the carnal mind, because it's enmity to Yahweh. And he gonna put that work in it. Verse 66, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life. Verse 67, in the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear, the desire of thine heart, wherewith thou shalt fear, wherewith thou shalt desire, and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. So we ain't gonna be comforted. But if we come back into him, he will be our comfort. But we don't get no comfort in this flesh, and while we in the land of bondage. And I hope everyone got the understanding of indulging in different or in observing to eat on different doctrines. And we'll see you on part 2. Shalom.